Over 50% of adults had fatty liver disease, but the scariest part is that 25% of our children have fatty liver disease. Over 50% of Americans suffer from some digestive issues, bloating, gas, and they think it's normal. They think that's what it's supposed to be. It's not normal, people. If you're having bloat, constipation, diarrhea, that is your body saying, hey, something's not right here. Well, the liver is a big part of your digestion. It's not just your stomach or your intestines, it starts in the liver. And like I mentioned, it's not just what you take into the body, it's how you take what you bring into the body and turn it into energy and assimilate the nutrients. People say, oh, I can't lose weight. I want to be put on Ozempic or a fat burner. And I'm like, well, have you addressed your liver? Because your liver is where that fat burning starts. And it is part of a protocol for anyone that is looking to lose weight.
Well, welcome back, everyone, for another episode of Healthy Rebel Speaks Out. And I am your host, Bonni London, and it is my intention to really demonstrate how much individual power we have when we have the right information. And I am very excited today because we really have someone who is a trailblazer in health and wellness and digging into some topics that I am very excited about as far as liver, thyroid, supplements, iodine. And her name is Sara Banta, a certified dietary supplement professional and a proud member of the National Association of Nutrition Professionals, among other accolades. But I will let her introduce herself. And also, Sara, yes, to begin, what got you started here?
I get the chills every time I get asked that question because it brings me back to why I'm here. Because in the busyness of daily activities, you just kind of keep moving on, right? But I had hit rock bottom. My body was, as I was growing up, I'm one of four kids, and my parents never had weight issues. So sugar and junk food in the house was not, it was there, but I didn't feel good when I ate it. And I was the weird one back then. Everyone else was like, I'm totally fine. Now, fast forward, I've got two sisters that had become vegan and now not so vegan, but they're trying to figure out how to deal with their health issues that finally manifested. And then I've got a brother that has, A1C through the roof because he's been eating crappy stuff all his life. So it's caught up to them, but it caught up to me much earlier. And so I was very picky with food, didn't really understand what was going on. I went through three pregnancies in Bonni, as you know, those babies steal all the nutrients out of you. And my hair was so thin. My skin was breaking out. I was bloated all the time. So many health issues. As I was a new mom, I literally thought I was going to be wearing a wig by the age of 30 with the way my hair was going. And hair and skin is a window into your internal health and what's going on. So I went to the GI doctor. They put me tubes down me, up me, around me, and said, oh, you've got IBS, go take some Metamucil. And I'm sitting there going, you don't think I've already tried that? So that didn't work. So then I found my a practitioner that did quantum healing and frequency-based diagnoses through a machine called the SCIO machine. It scans your body for over 10,000 items, from your emotional traumas at birth to your nutritional deficiencies to your hormone balance to what could be going on and triggering all of your issues. And after my first appointment with him, I was crying because finally someone understood how I felt. And he said, okay, we're going to just start peeling you like an onion because once you take care of one issue, the other things start coming up, right? So
And it's called the scale machine.
it's called the SCIO machine, SCIO, and it's scalar frequency based. And we can get into the fact that my line of supplements is all enhanced with scalar frequencies. So we take the supplement and then we enhance it with frequencies for better absorption and more efficacy. And we can get into that later. But anyway, as I was going through my health journey, and I was about, late 20s. My eldest, my son, was 9 years old. Typical boy, doing well in school, wants to play every sport. And then all of a sudden, he was getting headaches. He didn't want to even go to a 20-minute swim lesson. And I'm thinking, this is not my son. And so we hooked him up to the machine. And my practitioner didn't want to scare me, so he didn't tell me what he saw. He goes, I just want you to go get a blood test. I also want you to do live blood cell where you look at the blood underneath the microscope. And let's see what she says. Now, that practitioner was very blunt. She didn't hold back anything. So I'm sitting there with my 9-year-old son, and she said, Sara, he's got cancer. He's got leukemia. And if you don't do something about this right now, we are going to have a serious issue. And I just started bawling. But then I had my son right there, and I'm like, I have to hold it together. And he looks at me, and he's this old soul. And he goes, Mom, why are you crying? You're going to fix me. And I just said, You're right. I'm going to. And I threw out, my health issues were on the back burner, right? Because it's all about my children. And we started him on my flagship product, the Accelerated Silver. We then cleaned up his diet, but Bonnie, I didn't know much about diet back then. I was microwaving breast milk. I was
Oh my
microwaving
God.
corn dogs. I just did not. I knew protein was important, but those corn dogs had some protein in it. It was horrible. So for anyone listening out there going, I eat crap. I don't do the right thing. There's no hope for me. There's hope for you. If I can come out of it, anybody can. And that boy, so then a year later, as I saw his energy starting to come back, I still was holding my breath. Like, what are we getting anywhere? Now, mind you, no traditional treatments.
But you did
All,
get a traditional diagnosis from an
yes,
oncologist.
not from an oncologist. We did it from blood test and from the practitioner that looked at the blood cells underneath the microscope. We caught it very early. So then a year later, we did that same blood cell test, and the blood was plump and dark and beautiful, and there was no cancer cells in the picture whatsoever. And the lady that is extremely blunt looked at me again, and she said, Sara, this is the most beautiful blood I've ever seen, especially for a child. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. And I just started laughing and crying. And my son once again looked at me and he goes, Mom, I knew you'd fix me. And I thought to myself, okay, I've got something here. I've got to share it with the world because within that same week, my best friend who had a 2-year old put them on a steroid and an antibiotic for a simple little cough. And I thought, there's other solutions out there that people need to know. So that was when I really just dove into learning, and my thirst for learning is just unending. And the more I learned, the more I wanted to learn. And my mentor started giving me things to research, to learn about Chinese medicine, Ayurvedic medicine, and then the more modern nutraceuticals. And he would tell me about medications and why not to take them or what the side effects are. So I just started learning and learning and learning. And I started a small business with that one supplement. And as I learned more, I then wanted to carry more supplements. And I started doing it slowly and growing organically. I was just a mom at home, created a small little website, and had 3 young kids at home. Now, my one son had his issues, right? So then I've had 2 daughters, and my middle child, I always laugh because when she was 3, 4, or 5 years old. I loved her, but I did not like her. She was so difficult because she had no energy. She was anemic. She had asthma, allergies. You put her on a soccer field, she was worthless. You try to ask her to get on a bike and just ride around the block with the family. Nope. She didn't want to get her clothes on. We called her the noodle because you tried to dress her and she just like noodled down and you couldn't even get her clothes on. And if she got sick, she was sick for weeks when everyone else was sick for a couple days, right? So her immune system horrible, not athletic. I'm sitting there going, okay, I was an athlete in high school and it's super important to me. And my son is an athlete. How can I have a daughter that's not an athlete? That's just not okay in my family. That was not what I was thinking. Well, that girl who had zero energy, um, was rowing crew at the college level for USC. So we got her system up and running. We found her nutritional deficiencies. We helped her detox, help her body work that way it needed to work with nutrition to help her be her best self. And she's got tons of energy. She's like the girl that's up for anything, she's the last one on the ski hill. She just loves life. And then my
Like, so at
youngest,
this point, you figured out food as well, in addition to the
yes.
supplements. Yes.
Yes. And food is a huge part of it. Supplements are supplement to diet
Yes.
and sleep and exercise, all those things, right? And my youngest, probably the healthiest because I knew more as she was going along earlier in life. But when we got into elementary school, she was really good with analytics, with math, and hey, mom, you can't take Jackson to practice on Thursday because you've got this appointment on your calendar. I'm like, oh, you should be my assistant. But
Hmm.
she could not comprehend what she was reading. And she was reading fine, but we would read together over and over again. And it was just horrible because my other two kids, great in reading, great in school. And I thought, what's going on? She's not ADHD, not dyslexic. We checked those boxes, but something was not right. And she looked at me one day and she goes, Mom, I keep reading the same paragraph and it doesn't make sense. And my heart was breaking. And it was so stressful for me. I would actually have my older two children read with her because I thought, I don't want her to feel my anxiety to make the situation worse. So we would take turns. Well, through that, we learned about different supplements for it. We learned about, blood sugar, diet stuff that was affecting it, her anxiety, how to lower the anxiety to help with the reading. And that girl is going to Boston University. She's been in every honors class possible through high school. And she's probably more successful in school because she had to learn how to learn earlier on than my two other kids. And it just, all three of my children, and Bonnie, you know this, our kids teach us more than we teach them. And they have taught me that anything is you can overcome anything. And it really has given me the motivation to help as many people around the globe as possible, whether it's with supplements, diet, exercise, lifestyle, stress management, because we are living in a world that we're overstimulated, we're lacking sleep, hormones are completely out of whack, whether you're a teenage girl, a woman trying to get pregnant, or a woman in menopause, hormones are totally out of whack. And the simple solution is to go to the doctor, get on birth control or get on hormone therapy. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, but that shouldn't be the first choice, right? So
Well,
that's
yes. And well, thank you, first of all, for sharing, the personal story and clearly why you're so passionate about this. And what I would mention is that, there's a lot of people have conditions that they don't realize that they even have, and it's happening in larger numbers than ever before.
Yeah.
And actually, there was a recent study that showed that in the United States, adults age 21 or older with having no prior history of having liver disease, that 59% of these people, 59%,
Yeah.
had either fatty liver or some sort of fibrosis.
Yes.
And that was never diagnosed before. And a lot of these things are silent, that we don't realize it.
Yeah. So
So can you speak to just thinking just about this important organ, that it doesn't have a symptom, but it can be wreaking havoc behind the scenes? Obviously, I think most people do recognize it and has a very significant role in our health.
yeah.
Yet you're
So
not good without it.
what's so interesting is the last statistic I saw, and so obviously it's updated and worse, was that over 50% of adults had fatty liver disease. But the scariest part is that 25% of our children have fatty liver disease. And
Oh yeah.
this was once just an alcoholic disease, and our children don't drink alcohol. So our livers are so overburdened. It is the organ that does everything. It's a soccer mom. It is the traffic controller for every hormone, toxin, nutrient, fat cell in the body. I always laugh when people say, "Oh, I can't lose weight. I want to be put on Ozempic or a fat burner." And I'm like, well, have you addressed your liver? Because your liver is where that fat burning starts. And it is part of a protocol for anyone that is looking to lose weight. The liver is responsible for converting that inactive thyroid hormone to the active hormone T3. It detoxifies the bad estrogens, and I hate that they say estrogen, all estrogens, right? We have the good estrogen and the bad estrogen. It's like calling apples and oranges the same thing. They're both fruits, but they're totally different. But the bad estrogens are coming from the environment, the air pollution, the food, the water. We've got fluoride in our water. Thank God that people are actually starting to talk about fluoride. And that's a whole big thing with the iodine that we'll get into. But fluoride dumps down the brain. It lowers IQ, not just in children, but in adults too. The liver regulates blood sugar. I have so many people that are coming to me saying, Sarah, I'm on a low carb diet. I haven't changed anything. My A1C is going up. My cholesterol is going up. My iron and ferritin are going up. Things that are all regulated by the liver. The liver was hijacked by the spike protein, and it's affected everyone since the pandemic. I don't care who you are, if you have had the virus or if you got the jab or not, it doesn't matter. If you're living in modern society, you've been
Mhm.
exposed by the spike protein. It's in us. And a little story about me, and this is, I always love the way God uses me to make me suffer so I can help you, is last fall. I was hit by the spike protein. It flared up, but then I was also taking a medication that for prevention that people take that's an antiparasitic to combat the virus. And my body and my liver did not like it. And so what happened was it actually sparked a parasitic outbreak, and I had parasites and worms literally coming out of my skin. I'm not,
Oh my
it was,
God.
it was very gross. I had to cover up my skin. I couldn't wear my normal clothes. I was very itchy. Now, what you have to remember is that your skin is your largest detox organ. So if your
Yes.
liver is not doing what it's supposed to do, or if it's overwhelmed, you're going to get a skin breakout. You're going to get acne, eczema, psoriasis, rosacea, whatever. If you've got the bumps on the back of your arms, that's liver. Your liver is saying, hey, I can't do anymore. Skin, you got to help me out here. So
So tell me, other than the spike, what are the top things that people are doing unknowingly that damage their liver. I mean, we all know alcohol, obviously, but putting that aside, what are the top things unknowingly that people are exposed to putting in their bodies that can really be doing damage to their liver?
Okay. So, number one, processed foods. We'll go through the basic ones. Processed foods are not real food. And even organic protein bars are still processed. They've got ingredients that maybe your body doesn't like or recognize as real food. Then you get into the artificial ingredients, the sweeteners, the emulsifiers. What your body does with those things, it has to process them. It sees them as poison, just like it sees alcohol as poison, and it will stuff them into fat cells to get them out of your blood for survival. So even if your protein bar is only 150 calories versus eating some wild venison that's 150 calories, calories are not all the same because this over here might have some artificial ingredients that your body doesn't recognize, backs up your liver. Your liver's got to process it, so it can't actually assimilate the fat, the nutrients, and the protein that is in that food, and it stuffs those toxins into your fat cells. Now, until your body says, hey, I am feeling safe and I can now release those toxins out of the cell to get it out of the body, you're not going to lose weight. And we're just talking about weight. You're also going to get inflammation throughout the body. You're going to get brain fog. You're going to get a slowed thyroid because these toxins can get into your thyroid. You've got the endocrine disruptors. You've got the halogens, the fluoride, the bromide, the chlorine that's in our water and our food. Bromide is one of the 12 deadliest toxins. It's illegal in Europe and it's not illegal here.
So
Hope
where are we getting exposed to these things? I mean, fluoride obviously in the water,
bromide's in
bromide,
our food, in
and
our
it's in
bread.
mostly bread, right? Isn't it in baked goods
Yes.
mostly? Am
It's
I wrong?
also it's also a fire retardant. I live in Southern California, an hour away from Los Angeles, and during those fires, of course, my house is safe, but they're dumping the bromide fire retardant on the fires. So of course
Oh my
I'm
goodness.
breathing it. Hmm. So
Yeah, that's
it,
wow.
yeah. And it's also in our furniture. It's in a lot of household products. And you have the forever chemicals, you've got the microplastics, all of these things our bodies are not used to. And 20, 30 years ago, our bodies were exposed to a much lesser load. And our livers were like, okay, I can deal with this. It's not fun. It's not as good as it was for our ancestors, but I can deal with it. And now we're at a level where our livers are like, hey, I can't do it. And that fatty liver is inhibiting the absorption of the good nutrients, and our soils are so depleted that we're hardly taking in the nutrients we need on top of the fact that our bodies can't even absorb them. Because if our fat cells are so overstuffed with toxins, there's no room to put the nutrients in, right?
Yes, and don't we need these nutrients for the three phases of detoxification? If you want to talk about that a little bit, because
Yes,
that I would say is the other side of the coin, is that we're inundated with all of these toxins, but then we don't have the nutrients to make them water soluble and get rid of them, right?
right. You've got phase one and phase two detox. And what I always love to think of, it's like a bathtub. And if you are detoxing with phase one, but the plug is closed, then you're just building up those toxins and your body's going to recycle the toxins. That's why you've got to make sure you're pooping. You've got to get the toxins
I'm glad
out.
you mentioned that because that's one of the main things I always talk about is I always say you want the pathways open, the
Yes.
liver, and yes, you have to make sure you're having regular.
Yes.
daily, hopefully,
And
bowel movement.
daily. And I am glad you said that because people will say, yeah, no, I'm not constipated. I poop once every 3 days. You need to be pooping every time you eat.
Like
Think
a
about the
dog, like a
baby.
dog does, right?
Or like
Like
a dog.
take
You're
them out
right.
to poop. I
Yeah,
know.
exactly. Exactly. Because if you are constipated and you've released all of those toxins into your bowels from your liver and your liver did its job, then those toxins are going to get recycled. Now, when we talk about supplements or ingredients or foods that could actually make things worse, and you think you're doing the right thing, so you're
Yeah, tell me. I want to
you're
hear.
listening to this podcast because you care about your health. You're probably trying to do the right thing. Well, when you're eating foods that have sulfur or oxalates, it might backfire. And I say this, if you're eating these foods and you go, well, I feel fine on these foods, then keep eating these foods. I'm talking to the people that are like, I can't get forward movement with my symptoms. Try eliminating these foods and see what happens. So oxalates are like little teeny toothpicks and they attach themselves to minerals like calcium, magnesium, and they get stuck in your tissues. They back up the liver. They love the thyroid. They will cause hypothyroidism. They'll cause arthritis. They love the joints. They love creating kidney stones and your genital issues. These are in foods like spinach, your green drink, the celery juice. Now, celery's fine, but nature puts celery with fiber so that you eat just a few sticks. That's fine. But when you concentrate it into a green drink, that is too many oxalates for a lot of people. You've got the almonds. Almonds and spinach are the highest in oxalates, but then berries, kale. Kale has sulfur and oxalates.
And
Um,
heavy metals as well.
Yes, heavy metals as well. And you're trying to do the right thing, right? Kale's supposed to be the superfood. We call it killer kale. Get rid of that kale out of your diet.
It is crazy how all of these, people think of superfoods and the more you get, the better. But the way I like to think about this myself, Sarah, is always through like an evolutionary lens. And traditionally, we might have had spinach 3 weeks out of the year, right? Or any of those foods.
Yeah,
And then the winter, we would detoxify and it would not be a problem. But
right.
now we're so lucky in some ways to have access to all of these foods, 12 months out of the year with no
Yeah.
abandon. And I think this is a frustrating topic for sure for people because I've had ones coming to me that were doing kale juice every morning. And I'm like, no, and
Yeah.
so I would
Yeah.
also like to hear about now which are the supplements that also people might be surprised that they think they're
Yeah.
taking to help themselves that could be actually harming their liver.
Well, first I want to mention the sulfur group of foods because then we'll get into the supplements that go into both of those categories. Sulfur, our body needs it, right? But what's happened is because of glyphosate and the environmental toxins, it's hijacked the sulfur detox pathways so our bodies can't use it properly. Sulfur foods, cabbage, broccoli, cauliflower, kale again, onions, garlic, egg yolks. Now, this is interesting because how many of the women out there are using a DIM supplement to detox the excess estrogens out of the body? DIM is fully sulfur and it could be backfiring. So what I recommend instead is using a calcium D-glucarate, which helps absorb those toxins in that the
I'm
face.
taking both.
Okay. Well, it would be interesting to see how you felt by taking away the dim and seeing if you feel any better. NAC and glutathione, they're sulfur based and people think they need it for their liver. Yes, we need glutathione, but we want our bodies to produce it naturally. Turmeric, I was taking turmeric at high doses and didn't realize that it was causing my kidney stones. And I've given birth
Wow.
3 times. I would rather give birth a fourth time than pass another kidney stone for all of you
Okay.
out there
Well, we can
planning
share
on,
that. I had kidney stones too, like
yeah.
25 years ago. Not pleasant.
No. So turmeric is full of oxalates. Dandelion is also used in liver supplements, and it is also an oxalate supplement. You've got MSM, that is sulfur based. But what the other thing is too is a lot of supplements, especially because the process people have lowered their quality control because of the economy and the pandemic and sourcing ingredients from India and China and all of that where they're dead herbs. There's no life force. And it's kind of like eating a bruised apple that doesn't, it's all mushy and gross. Well, your body
Oh,
doesn't want it.
also, there's no regulation on it. I always talk about
Yeah,
supplements as being like the Wild West because
it
it's not
is.
regulated by the FDA. So at the end of this, the onus is on the company to do their own third-party testing, certificates of analysis. And if you go on the company, any reputable company will have full disclosure of these documents. And
Yes.
so there really is a ginormous difference, which I'm sure you could speak to, where just going to your local pharmacy or whatever and buying the cheapest thing off of Amazon versus it's not just the money, because I heard of someone buying an expensive supplement, but it was from another country. It turns out it was laced with like mercury.
Yeah.
Mercury. I mean, I don't know laced, I'm going to say accidentally, but still, because they're not doing that testing. And
Yeah.
here people are thinking that they're doing the right thing, and what kind of frustration is that, right?
Well, just back to my story, when I didn't know what I was doing when I was a young person, right? I didn't know much, but I knew enough where I was like, something's not right. I don't feel great in my body. I'm more particular than my siblings with what food I eat and all of that. When I finally got a heavy metals test in my 20s, my lead, mercury, and aluminum levels were literally off the chart. They were not measured because they were so high. And lead, there's this study that just came out that lead is showing lower IQ for children and
Mhm.
arsenic as well. We're seeing women that are drinking tap water full of arsenic, fluoride, and these other metals are actually having low weights for their children. There's more miscarriages, a lot of things like that. So if you think about how it's affecting our children and these babies, what is it doing at a low level in us? And we don't know where that brain fog's coming or why we're just a little bit inflamed. It's all of these little things. Well, the other thing that with these supplements, mold and bacteria. So they're allowing higher counts of mold and bacteria. So maybe you're taking a supplement to cleanse your liver, but it's full of mold and bacteria that are backing up your liver and causing allergies. And oh my gosh, I've never had allergies in my life. And now all of a sudden I have allergies. It could be from a supplement that's actually supposed to help you. And for those buying their supplements off of Amazon, there's a lot on Amazon that is not real, that is not from the company. Make sure you're buying from the company. Amazon also does not guarantee how long that supplement has been sitting on their shelf from the company. So you have to be careful as well with that. And that is where we at Accelerated Health Products, there's no fillers in our supplements. Zero. We work so hard to make sure there's no flow agents, and the manufacturing companies that do our processing hate us because we make sure it makes their job harder to not put those fillers and the emulsifiers into the supplements to make them flow better and go through their machines easier. So with the liver, with my situation in the fall, my liver enzymes were through the roof. And that was why my skin was reacting. My liver enzymes were over 700. You want them under 20. Not good.
Over 700? And
700.
Are you kidding? And what, and
No.
you don't have permanent damage to your liver?
Well, so coincidentally, we came out with our liver supplement, Accelerated Liver Care. And I thought, okay, I'm going to see if it works because I have these enzymes that are through the roof. Within 2.5 weeks, Bonnie, my liver enzymes were down. It was unreal.
Like below 20?
They were close to, they were in the 30 range. And yeah,
I mean,
so
that's pretty good. I'm just asking.
yeah, I mean, within 2 weeks, that's pretty darn good.
That is scary. Well, that is crazy.
And
Well,
so, and what I want to mention though is what else was going on in my body because my liver was suffering? Testosterone was in the tank. My thyroid hormones were in the tank. I've never had issues with my testosterone. Actually, I've always had high testosterone. My iron levels, and I'd always run more anemic as a child, and like my one daughter, my iron was high because the liver is where you process the stored iron throughout the body. My cholesterol was higher. Cholesterol is managed within the liver. So it's also where your fat metabolism happens and your protein assimilation. So am trying to build muscle. I eat tons of good quality wild animal protein. But the problem is, doesn't matter what you're eating if your body is not assimilating what you're taking. And that assimilation of protein and fat happens in your liver. I was losing muscle as I was eating plenty of protein that a man of 200 pounds should be eating.
and
And
so, and this was a heavy metal test, just so I understand that you identified this problem that was underlying the liver.
no, 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 no. This was from that medication I was on that sparked and because of the spike protein. So all of it was like this perfect
Gotcha.
storm.
Okay. All right. Just a lot of stuff going on here, Sarah. Just
I,
gotta
I
just
know. But heavy metals, of course, are going to back up the liver too.
that. Yes.
Right? So this
Mhm.
was all on top of the normal environmental toxins that we all are exposed to, even when we try to eat organic and do all of the right things, you're still going to be exposed. Fluoride, for one thing, very difficult to get out of water. Even with these water filters, most of them, unless they specify fluoride, can be letting the fluoride into your system. So that's where, on a greater magnitude, we need to get it out of our waters at the governmental level, just because people are not going to be able to get that fluoride out of the water as much as they can. So with all
Oh,
that
they're still really pushing it though. At most traditional dental establishments.
yeah, I know. And it's really unfortunate because it is dumbing down our kids. It is not doing what they say it does. I mean, that is very controversial. RFK just came out with his documentary or the one that he's backing by Jeff Hayes, Toxic Nation. I recommend people listen to it. He talks about fluoride, glyphosate, processed foods, and there was the fourth one. Those were the top four concerns for health, but he names fluoride as one of the top four. So it
Wow.
is a big issue. And that's not just in our circle, it is at the government level. But with the accelerated liver care, we took 13 very specific herbs, and this is the way we work with all of our supplements is we not only take the ingredients that we know are important. No oxalates, no sulfur, nothing that's going to trigger a backup in anybody. I want my supplements to be able to work for the masses so that you don't have to worry, well, maybe I'm more sensitive than someone else. And we take herbs like milk thistle and tudka that you've heard of, but then we've added herbs like pauperera that has multiple studies for liver cancer and cirrhosis and fatty liver. And we've added skullcap and andrographis, things that help with hair growth, help with immune system, help with restoring, detoxing, and rebuilding the liver. So it is helping with that phase one and phase two pathways with no backlash. And then you're going to see everything kind of work better. The one thing that people, there was a study that said about over 50% of Americans suffer from some digestive issues, bloating, gas, and they think it's normal. They think that's what it's supposed to be. It's not normal, people. If you're having bloat, constipation, diarrhea, that is your body saying, hey, something's not right here. Well, the liver is a big part of your digestion. It's not just your stomach or your intestines, it starts in the liver. And like I mentioned, it's not just what you take into the body, it's how you take what you bring into the body and turn it into energy and assimilate the nutrients. So we've taken these herbs, but then what we do too is we play around with the ratios to get the maximum optimal life force. So life force is the energy, the chi, as they talk about it in Chinese medicine, behind the formulation. And you can have milk thistle that's dead leaves, that's dried out in the sun, that's been stored in a garage, that does nothing for your body, right? And then you can have herbs that are full of life force, that are really giving you that energy and translating into your body to do what it's supposed to do. So we put them in the ratios to increase the life force to its maximum amount. So, when you look at a supplement, the back of a supplement, it will put things in the order of what there's the most of, right? Well, a lot of supplement companies will just fairy dust a little bit of the ingredient in there so they can put it on the label. And they also put it in concentrations of 1 to 1, meaning 1 pound of the supplement or the herb equals a pound in the supplement. We do things at the ratio of 10 to 1. So you're getting 10 pounds concentrated down into 1 pound. So you're getting much more bang for your buck. But then what we do, as I mentioned, scalar frequencies and the skio machine at the very beginning of our conversation, we take that same technology and we actually enhance the supplements with scalar frequencies that help that specific supplement do its job better. So for instance, with the accelerated liver care, we enhance it with frequencies to open up the meridians of the liver and the gallbladder. So when you take the supplement, it goes right, it says, oh, I know exactly where to go, and I'm going to go do its job in the liver. And this brings up the point, and also it's not just about what supplements you're taking, but the timing of supplements. You don't want to be taking a liver supplement when you're eating your food and you're taking your digestive enzymes or your multivitamin, because that is trying to go to feed and build your system, right? The multivitamin's there to build. The food is there to build. The liver supplement is there to detox. So
So when do you suggest taking it then?
you would take it an hour away from other supplements or other or food. And I do it twice a day for therapeutic effects. But if you're doing it just once a day, I recommend doing it an hour before bed, because then you're going to follow it up right before bed with the accelerated cellular detox powder that helps soak up the toxins that you're kicking out and get them away from your liver and kidneys, so your liver and kidneys don't have to work so hard and
Is that
takes
like activated charcoal, something like that?
so it's activated charcoal, triphala, slippery elm, and chitosan, which chitosan is known to help absorb excess cholesterol and dietary fat and help them go throughout the body. Both supplements increase bile. Bile is there to emulsify the fat and process and get the toxins out as well. So it's kind of,
You
people will
know how
say,
many people have no gallbladder nowadays that they don't
exactly.
think, of course, you can live without it, but this is where we store bile, I just would mention. And so then this gets back to the liver. Yes, the liver produces the bile, but it's never going to like 100%, go give the same amount of support that having a gallbladder does. It's just not the
Exactly.
same. But they
Yeah.
just take it out. I see it all the time, like it's no big deal.
I'm so glad you brought that up. It's the number one surgery. It's an easy moneymaker for the doctors. And my best friend, she had so many gallstones, and the doctor's like, "There's no hope. You've got to get your gallbladder taken out." She did my liver cleanse week after week for a few weeks, and went back to the doctor, and the doctor's like, "What did you do? You can keep your gallbladder." So people, please don't get rid of your gallbladder. God gave you all of your organs for a reason. So do your best to keep your organs.
Well, yeah, even we know now, even, an appendix. Of course, this happens, but we understand now the appendix actually has a purpose in the body.
Yes,
Imagine that.
imagine that. I
Which is
almost
to
had
store
mine.
bacteria. I mean, so when
Yes,
people get out their tonsils and they get out their appendix, this to me is very important information because they all play a role, part of the immune system there. But
yeah,
I just want to make sure we touch on another organ of particular importance here, and that is the thyroid, because
yeah,
you probably know this, Sarah, but I just want to mention it for those listening that 20 million Americans, which is more than 12% of the US population, will have some sort of thyroid condition.
yeah,
And about 60% of those people don't even know that they
yeah,
have it. In fact, I just had a client of mine, and I do like a comprehensive blood evaluation with a full thyroid panel, which everyone should get. And of course, I do not make the diagnosis. That is not under, what I do for a living as a dietitian. But this is more than the first time that I've discovered that people have Hashimoto's, which is an autoimmune condition which can cause hypothyroidism. But what
yeah.
has really been very controversial and I was mentioning this, Sarah and I were talking about this before we got on, and this has to do actually with fluoride, which is iodine, the good, the bad, the ugly, and take it away, Sarah.
Yeah, that statistic that you just mentioned, I believe is way underreported because people are not getting the full test. So when you have your TSH and your T4 tested, TSH is a pituitary hormone telling your thyroid it's a thyroid stimulating hormone. So it has nothing to do with what your thyroid is producing and your metabolism. That T4, that's great, but it does you no good unless it's converted into T3, which happens in the liver. So that's where the thyroid and the liver are connected. Super important. Those are the two organs that I always go to with people when they have symptoms of something. Your thyroid regulates your metabolic rate, your body temperature. I want you all to go get a thermometer. I want you to start taking your temperature in the morning and see if it's 98.6. It's not. I mean, most people are at 96.7 or 97 something. That is suboptimal thyroid. And just like Bonnie mentioned, you want to get that full thyroid panel done. You want your free T3. That is your metabolism. Reverse T3 is your body saying, "Hey, I'm converting that T4 into reverse T3 instead of a free T3 because I'm stressed." And when I'm stressed, I'm going into survival mode and I'm going to shut down the metabolism. I'm going to increase the body's propensity to gain weight, gain fat, especially around the gut to protect your expensive organs from that tiger that might be attacking you, right? So the
Yes.
thyroid controls the fat burning capacity. I don't care how many Orange Theory classes you're going to or you're running 10 miles. You're not going to burn fat or lose weight if your thyroid's not working. Mental clarity and focus. The number one cause of depression is iodine deficiency. When we're talking about T4 and T3, that's tyrosine and 4 and 3 molecules of iodine. So I know iodine's controversial out there, but how do you have thyroid hormones without iodine? They're part of the building blocks. Now, the other problem is that our soils are completely depleted of our minerals, whether it's magnesium or potassium, but especially iodine. And iodine was put into iodized salt, which helped correct the situation for a while. But now that iodized salt is full of microplastics. So here you are taking in toxins that the iodine's supposed to be detoxing you of, right? So it's not helping you. It's like taking one step forward and 10 steps back. And it's stripped of all of the other minerals and it's not very much iodine. But the iodine also is super important for your hormone production and that estrogen dominance. So 80% of the T4 that needs to be converted into T3 happens in your liver. So if you
Okay, so
are
can you explain for those that don't understand? First of all, a couple of things here. When we're talking about stress and how your body perceives stress, um, do you differentiate between emotional stress and physical stress from maybe heavy metal exposure, some sort of
right.
inflammatory process going on in the body, correct?
Great question because your body doesn't care. Whether you are having a fight with your husband, you've got financial stress, or like me, you were fighting off some virus or your liver wasn't working or your immune system was being tapped, or physical stress of running 10 miles, which is a stressor and it's over stress, especially for us women that are going through perimenopause and menopause. All of it is stress and your body's like, I got to shut things down. I don't know. I need to go into survival mode. And so your body is going to start converting that T4 into reverse T3. So without iodine and when your thyroid's not functioning well, you're going to be fatigued even when you're sleeping. You're going to have brain fog, weight gain out of nowhere, cold hands and feet, thinning hair. Do you remember me saying that I thought I was going to be bald and wearing a wig by 30? Today at 49, I don't have the most gorgeous hair in the world, but I can tell you it's thicker than it was in my 20s, which is not the way it's supposed to be, right? But thinning eyebrows, the outsides of your eyebrows are thinning, constipation. When you have hypothyroidism or sluggish thyroid, everything's slow. You can't get your rings off your finger. You have edema. Your constipation slow.
Right. And we know that 90+% of people who have hypothyroidism is caused by Hashimoto's. So this is where the whole, I think, conflicting information out there with iodine that it causes or can bring on Hashimoto's. So,
Right.
so
And Dr. Brownstein was on my podcast. I recommend you go and listen to it. He was at one point I said, Dr. Brownstein, please address this question. Does iodine cause Hashimoto's? And he said, Sarah, I was the one that said that 5 years into my practice. He goes, that's when I didn't know what I was talking about. He goes, I high dose all of my patients on iodine, and those with Hashimoto's even need more iodine. He goes, every single one of my breast cancer patients were low iodine and high bromide. Their breast tissues, because your breasts have more iodine receptor sites than your thyroid. So if you are trying to prevent breast cancer, that would be your number one thing to do is
stop with
iodine.
the fluoride toothpaste because fluoride and bromide block the iodine
Right.
and
So,
take some iodine, which I
so
think
this is
I would get
called
some right now. I have some right up back here. So
This is called halogen displacement. If you go back to chemistry class and you've got the column with the iodine, the fluoride, the bromide, the chlorine, they all look the same. So if you have these receptor sites for iodine and they're empty, they're like a parking lot, oh, here comes the fluoride, it's just going to park right into those receptor sites and clog them. And your T4 on your blood test could actually be false and be representing high bromide. So that's something to think about. But when you look at the cell, you need your iodine for your thyroid hormones, yes, but you also need your iodine for so many other things. On that cell, remember how I said if your cells are stuffed with toxins, but it doesn't feel safe to let them go? Well, that cell membrane, which is the brain of the cell, has an iodolipid value, iodine fat value. Now, not just any fat, we need the healthy fats, and I like to use phosphatidylcholine for that healthy cell membrane. But you need the iodine to stabilize that cell membrane and make it flexible so that the toxins can get out and the little nutrients that you're getting in to go into the cells. You need iodine to increase that mitochondrial health, increase that ATP number to its maximum level. Your fatigue is not going to be corrected by coffee or a monster drink. We need to
Oh,
increase that cellular ATP. So it's needed inside the cell, it's needed for the cell membrane, and then outside the cell, iodine is antiviral, antibacterial, antifungal, antiparasitic. So when I had my skin breakout with parasites, I was taking it orally. I was also using it topically with the accelerated scalar castor oil. That combination can help with any skin infection. It's also a great face mask for anti-aging, those two things together, because iodine increases apoptosis, which is the turnover and getting rid of those diseased, destructive cells. We want to get rid of those bad cells. Iodine is needed for that. Iodine is needed to help cleanse the blood so the job. Iodine is needed for fat oxidation. It's needed for to boost that immune system, for the brain function. It's essential for neurodevelopment and brain performance, especially during pregnancy and puberty. Your body goes through more cellular turnover when in as a fetus or during those teenage years. Our children need iodine. It helps with mood. When you start taking the Acceleradine iodine, and we'll talk about the different iodine supplements, is that it is helping decalcify the brain, but it's also boosting the mood and helping with the alleviate depression, anxiety, and helping with cognitive focus.
well,
Um,
this sounds a little overwhelming, I have to say. So, where should someone start with some supplements, I guess, for specifically with iodine?
So the Acceleradine iodine is different than any other iodine. A lot of iodines, and this is also why people have adverse reactions to iodine supplements. Most iodine sources are coming from Asia, which has been contaminated by Fukushima and the radiation, and or sea kelp, right? And that's why people are saying, well, eating fish is supposed to be healthy, but I can't really eat it now because of the heavy metals and the toxicity in our ocean
Plastics. Don't forget the microplastics.
and the microplastics. Well, Acceleradine iodine comes from deep down in mines untouched by modern man in South America. So that's number one. But then what happens is a lot of iodine supplements they're diatomic. They're attached to another molecule like potassium iodide, right? The weak body, your body already doesn't have much energy because you're running low thyroid. It has to break apart that iodine to use it. Acceleradine iodine is monoatomic iodine, one molecule of iodine, where it goes into the body and it's going right to every cell in the body, those receptor sites, close to 100% bioavailability. But this is also the other thing. What is the carrier in an iodine supplement? Some nascent iodine is connected to glycerin. Glycerin's thick and sticky. It is going to lower that bioavailability and the ability to penetrate the cells. And then we put our Acceleradine iodine with 200 proof organic non-GMO alcohol, and that is the most bioavailable carrier. And some will even use an alcohol, but it's less than 200 proof, or it's not organic, and then it's introducing more toxins into the
So,
body.
so I hear that it affects so many places in the body, but like, how does someone test or know that they're deficient in iodine? I mean, is there a test?
It is not a dependable test. Testing your blood for iodine is not a dependable test. And as Dr. Brownstein says, we are so overloaded with toxins in this modern world. Everybody needs to be taking iodine at higher doses to kick out those toxins. So it's not just for the cells, but it's actually for the detox effects as well, to get those toxins out of the body. But as you're doing it, it's very important to supplement with a full, complete salt. We have the accelerated ancient salt, but not a refined salt, not the table salt. Uh, Electrolytes full of the potassium and all of the minerals that will help plump up the blood to move those toxins out of the body. That will help with any detox symptoms. Most people don't have any detox symptoms, but if you do, you always want to supplement with the salt, and the detox powder that we mentioned as well can help bind up those toxins and get them out of the body so that you don't have those detox flu symptoms. So to make it simple, as you were talking about, like, where does someone start? Liver and thyroid, right? Iodine and accelerated liver care, Acceleradine iodine. Those two
So
things.
all I just as we are kind of winding down and like wrapping up here, I feel like what motivates many listeners for sure, other than I mean feeling exhausted, brain fog, all of that, but no question, hands down, is gaining weight, and a lot of people will run to eating less, exercising more, but clearly there is way, way more to the picture. So if you're struggling with your weight, you might want to take a look at your liver health and your thyroid health as a first place. And it all kind of goes hand in hand.
Absolutely. It's so sad when you see people just struggling, and they're so hard on themselves. They think
Of
it's a
course.
lack of willpower, or what am I doing wrong, or I just look at a brownie and I'll gain weight. That's not the way the body's supposed to work. And when you start getting your system running like a smooth machine, it will work for you, not against you. And you're going to stop stressing, and that stress is part of the problem, right? So we need to address the stress, the physical, emotional stress that we put on ourselves. As especially women at this age, we've got the children, and we've got the elderly parents we're taking care of. We've got the financial worries. We've got all of these modern toxins that we're facing. We have a food system that has been hijacked, and we don't even know what to eat anymore. Even some of the healthy foods aren't healthy for us, and it is overwhelming, Bonnie. I get it. So I want
I see that. So as we're wrapping up here, I guess my question to you is just if you could give like a simple overview of if you could just do a few simple things to count on your hand, what would you tell people they need to do today?
Acceleradine iodine, accelerated liver care, focus on that sleep. You try to get that 7 to 8 hours of sleep, move your body, strength train, get rid of the chronic cardio, lift heavy weights. And stress. My number one stress reliever is taking a 10-minute walk, not a power walk, 10-minute walk with my dogs, sniffing around, getting in the sun, and lowering that cortisol. And just the power of walking is you're moving forward, which helps the brain feel like it's a dopamine. I'm feeling good about myself. I'm not stuck. So those would be my five.
I love it. Well, thank you so much, Sarah. And I could definitely talk to you more. And of course, I am going to put a link in the description below so that you can get a discount on these amazing supplements. And I'm definitely going to be getting some liver help myself, I think. I don't know. But anyways, well, thank you so much. This has been great.
Thank you, Bonnie.